The most powerful unelected official in America may be about to face something he never expected: accountability. President Trump just announced that he's preparing a lawsuit against the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for gross incompetence. Not resignation, not replacement, legal action. The man who admitted on camera that the Fed flooded the system with digitally printed money is now in the crosshairs, and the financial establishment is bracing for impact. So here is what is at stake. For decades, the Federal Reserve has operated as an untouchable institution. They set the interest rates, they control the money supply, they decide the winners and the losers in the economy. And the answer to no one. Not voters, not Congress, not courts. Well, that may be about to change. Trump is calling out Powell for keeping rates artificially high while the Fed allegedly planned to spend $4.1 billion on building renovations. Let that sink in. Americans were crushed by inflation, savings were destroyed, housing became unaffordable, and the Fed was budgeting billions for a construction project. Powell himself admitted that they print the money digitally, they flood the system, they create the crisis, and now Trump says there must be consequences. As we wrap up 2025, it is a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there is one thing we've all learned, uncertainty isn't temporary. It is the world we live in now. And waiting for normal is not a plan. It is a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments, they have helped Americans protect themselves by diversifying with gold and silver. You see, nobody knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth is not digital, it's physical, it's lasting, and it is yours. And that is what Noble Gold delivers: peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Visit nextnewsgold.com, get your free wealth protection kit today, and don't leave your future to chance. The number on the screen, write it down. Give them a call, 847-646-5347. You've only got a couple more days where you can still get 10 of these beauties. 10 ounces of silver, and silver is skyrocketing right now. Qualified accounts, call that number and find out if you do qualify. Now, Trump isn't holding back. He called Powell a fool. He said Powell suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. He said Powell should resign and would be doing the nation a favor. He then went further. Trump said he would love to fire Powell. And he added these words: maybe I still might. You know, a replacement is already being prepared. The announcement could come next month. Markets reacting immediately. Crypto surging. Investors see the writing on the wall. You see, the Fed's grip on the economy may finally be loosening, and Powell knows this. Check this out. Trump has reiterated his intention to sue the Federal Reserve Chairman, citing what he calls gross incompetence in managing the renovation of the Fed's Washington headquarters. All the Federal Reserve's 2025 interest rate decisions in 60 seconds.
The public and private committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%. The economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The Federal
What you're seeing here is criminal. A private bank controlling the nation's economy. Private bankers controlling our entire nation's economy, printing the money and loaning it back to the federal government at interest, when we have the power to print it ourselves. See, that's the crux of the problem. On Jekyll Island, they devised this plan to outsource the printing of our money, to snatch it away from the power of the people in the federal government, us, who granted the federal government that authority. And then they passed the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, and everything changed. That power was handed over to the private institution known as the Federal Reserve. And here you have him, Jerome Powell, month after month. No, we're not changing the rates. No, we're not changing the rates. And what happens when they move a point, they move half a point? Everything changes. The markets react. Housing markets, rental markets, everything changes. Everything reacts when this freaking guy opens his mouth. And he's the head of a private bank. I mean, you guys aren't stupid. You watch this channel. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm getting at. That's why we must end the Fed once and for all. And to see that President Trump is working to hold these guys accountable makes me happier than I could ever be. I used to march in the streets screaming, "End the Fed," organizing rallies at every single Federal Reserve branch in the United States, nationwide. Tens of thousands of us marched on every single Federal Reserve branch in the United States in the End the Fed movement. Look it up. There's videos of me standing outside the Federal Reserve giving speeches. We've been working at this forever, and to see that President Trump understands this, I'm going to hold these people accountable. And he's using a tool which is quite interesting, because what Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve did is they basically tipped their hand by getting overzealous and having this massive renovation. They revealed the weakest link. A $4.1 billion renovation that has gone way over budget. But these are the guys that print the actual money. No one's holding them accountable. There's no oversight for a project like that. There's no oversight. Who is the oversight for the Federal Reserve when they do a renovation? Nobody. That's why they can spend $4.1 billion on it. Because in the back rooms, they got the money machines printing it out. And every dollar they print adds to the inflation in the inflation problem in this country. And they don't give a shit. They don't care about you. This guy does have Trump derangement syndrome. And you know why? Because he wants to see this nation burn. He wants to see the Trump economy suffer. He wants to see you suffer. Because if you are successful and Trump is successful, they lose their grip on power. So they want people in a constant state of dependency. That's how the system operates. And the more that he can keep you dependent, the more he can stay in control. But Donald Trump discovered the silver bullet. With the renovation project, they thought that nobody would look. Well, guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. His name's Donald J. Trump, and he decided to look under the tent. And what did he find? Massive fraud and waste by the guys who are printing the money. So, as an entity within the federal government, he can sue. He can file suit against that group, against the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure exactly what the terms are. We'll find out. But that's where we are at right now, my friends. Gross incompetence. Major lawsuit, gross incompetence. The stage is being set. President Trump found a way to wedge himself, the executive branch, in between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve by using the leverage of this mismanaged, insane, building of this tomb, this expansion of this tomb to monetary policy, using gross incompetence. There's no other way you can describe it, really. You really can't. Do you remember back in July when Trump decided to show up and check in on them? This was a moment in history that I'll never forget. President Trump going in, Jerome Powell shitting his pants right there. I'm sorry, his depends.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no,
including the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't.
Again, we have a reserve. Do you guys recognize the magnitude of this scene right here? Do you recognize what you're witnessing? That's the President of the United States of America standing next to the Federal Reserve chair. And he's grilling the Federal Reserve chair over the cost overruns on their renovation project. The Federal Reserve chair is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. No, we did that 5 years ago. What? Those numbers I'm not aware of. We have a reserve. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. The Federal Reserve is, basically contracted to print our money. So I think Trump needs to sever the contract and give that power right back to the Treasury. There's no need for the Federal Reserve to stand in the way. It's a middleman. Private bankers. President Trump just walked in their freaking door and he pulled the curtain back, exposed them all, and now the lawsuit is on its way. Here we go. This is November 11th. You simply flood the system with money. Yes, we did. Where does it come from? We just print it digitally.
It come from? You simply flooded the system with money?
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Just flood the system with money. President Trump scorching Jerome Powell.
He's got some down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work in this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'll be honest. I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent, and he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together. You got to work on him, Scott. The only thing Scott's blowing it on is the Fed. Because the Fed, the rates are too high, Scott. And if you don't get it fixed fast, I'm going to fire your ass, okay? I can't tell you, Scott, sir, don't fire him. Sir, please don't fire him. He's got 3 months to go. Don't fire him. I want to get him out, Scott. Please. He's the voice of reason. You're very lucky you have him, I'll tell you that. Done a good job. I think Howard's a little bit more for firing him. Right, Howard? I think Howard would say, get him the hell out of there. Anyway, down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some...
Yeah, work on him. Just get the lawsuit filed. President Trump ripping Jerome Powell for keeping interest rates too high, calls him incompetent.
Despite him, I'll be picking a new head of the Fed soon. Our Fed person is absolutely, despite him, we have numbers that really nobody's ever seen, Vince, right? Despite him, we have numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We're fighting through him. And we'll soon have a good head of the Fed who's going to want to see interest rates go down. But we're fighting through higher interest rates. But the interest rates are coming down despite him. He's an incompetent. He's an incompetent person who suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, okay? It's one of those little problems. We have many of them. But we're fighting through that stuff.
and I've said this before, when the interest rates are finally where they should be, President Trump installs a new Fed chair, then we'll have an economy that is going to be on fire. But my position is still just get the Fed out of the way. End it. President Trump says the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is a fool. His replacement is on the way. Bullish for crypto, XRP. 5 hours ago, Trump said a lawsuit against Jerome Powell may be coming. Here we go. 5 hours ago.
You've said so one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're also doing interviews.
Still do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
But in
the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone, they call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building. But it's a big project. For a tiny fraction of that, we're under budget and ahead of schedule. And they've wanted it for 150 years. Think of it, the Federal Reserve building, 2 buildings there, they don't know what they're doing. They're way over budget. I mean, this was built during the Biden administration. And I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election. He was too early because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no.
No, honey, I'm not done. Quiet, piggy.
We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He's at $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man. But we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
No. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Are you guys tracking with me here? This is a silver bullet. This is to get in between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, expose the money monopoly for what it is. Guys, this guy is fighting for us on all fronts. And it's so beautiful to be here. And I'm glad you're with me on this journey because this is history in the making. We could not have prayed for a better president. And we got our prayers answered when he survived in Butler. We came so close that day, guys. So close. God had other plans. Other plans. Here's that moment again. I think this photo would really go down in history as one of the most, I don't know what do you call this moment? I mean, the President of the United States confronting the Federal Reserve chair at their own renovation project, calling him out for cost overruns, and then just a few months later announcing a massive incompetence lawsuit against him. President Trump says he should resign.
You asked Jay Powell to resign from the board entirely?
Be a favor to the nation. But he's come close. I mean, we're getting pretty close. I would fire him. I'd love to fire him, but we're so close, maybe I still might.
Yeah, let's go.
Say it.
Are you going to approve a sailing of, you asked Jay Powell?
So, are you going to fire him? You see, he says we're so close. It's because his term is up. It's just around the corner. The question is, how much more damage can he inflict while he's still head of the Federal Reserve? Now, if Powell wanted to keep his job, he'd lower those interest rates. He would play nice, lower the interest rates, and turn this economy on. Instead, he's delaying it. Oh, here's a quarter point. Here you go. Here's a breadcrumb for you, plebs. Here, take this take these scraps from the table of the Federal Reserve. Trump knows he can fire his ass. He could. But he needs to. But his term is almost over. I'm just concerned about what damage can be done in the process. You follow me here? So, the story is not over, but this is why this moment is unprecedented. A gross incompetence lawsuit would drag the Federal Reserve where? Into discovery. Emails, internal projections, decision-making records, who knew what and when. The institution that has operated in the shadows for over a century could be forced into the light. And Trump's not bluffing. He is telegraphing a strike, resignation, removal, replacement, and now legal action. The era of central bank immunity, it may just be ending. And Jerome Powell is about to find out what accountability looks like. Now, here's why this matters to every single American. See, the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. It is a private institution that controls your money. They decide if your savings grow or shrink. They decide if you can afford a home. They decide if your retirement is secure. And for generations, they have faced zero consequences for their failures. Powell admitted they just flooded the system with printed money. Inflation exploded. The middle class was gutted. And the Fed's response was to raise rates and crush small businesses while planning a $4 billion renovation. Trump is saying enough. He's challenging a system that politicians from both parties have protected for decades. A lawsuit would be historic. It would expose how the decisions are made. It would finally hold the money printers accountable. My question for you, do you support President Trump filing a gross incompetence lawsuit against Jerome Powell? I certainly hope your answer is yes. Drop it in the comments. And grab some gear at our merch shop. You'll find it linked down below.